All right, let's unpack this. We're going deep into account-based marketing, or ABM, as some people call it. You're not here for the surface level stuff, though, right? You want the insider secrets, the real world wins.
Yeah.
And maybe even a few face palms along the way. Don't worry, we've got you.
That's the spirit. And what's really fascinating about ABM is how it kind of flips the script on traditional marketing. Think of it this way. Instead of casting a wide net, right, and just hoping for the best, you're meticulously crafting a spear and aiming it directly at your most prized targets.
I love that analogy. And to help us sharpen our aim, we've got a treasure trove of intel to work with. Articles from top marketing minds, insights from industry gurus, and even those juicy case studies that'll show you just how powerful this approach can be.
Exactly. We're talking about real companies, right? Seeing massive ROI, sales cycles shrinking like a wool sweater in the dryer, and customer relationships that are stronger than ever before.
So consider this your ABM crash course. By the end, you'll not only understand the core principles, but you'll also walk away with actionable takeaways. And maybe even a few aha moments that'll change your whole marketing game.
You know, if we zoom out for a second, ABM really represents a significant shift in how we think about B2B marketing. It's about moving beyond the transactional and building genuine, long-lasting relationships with key accounts. That's where the real magic happens.
It almost sounds like, dare I say it, a more human approach to marketing.
You're spot on. ABM is all about understanding the needs, the challenges, and even the internal dynamics of each account, right? It's about treating them like individuals, not just entries in a spreadsheet.
So it's less about shouting from the rooftops and more about having a meaningful conversation.
Precisely. It's about aligning your sales and marketing teams, like a perfectly synchronized swim routine. Both sides need to be in lockstep, sharing insights, collaborating closely, to deliver a seamless and personalized experience for each target account.
I've even heard some experts compare it to dating. You're not going in for the hard sell on the first date. It's about building trust, demonstrating value, and nurturing that relationship over time.
That long game mentality is crucial. ABM is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And just like training for a marathon, it requires preparation, dedication, and a whole lot of personalization.
Speaking of personalization, it seems like that's where a lot of marketers trip up. It's not just about slapping a company logo on a generic piece of content, right?
Absolutely not. It's about going beyond the surface level and truly understanding the unique needs of each decision maker within an account.
Wait, so you're telling me we need to create different content for different people within the same company? That sounds like a lot of work.
It can be. But that's where the idea of building dossiers comes into play. Think of them as your secret weapon for crafting hyper-personalized campaigns.
Dossiers. That sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
Essentially, it's about conducting in-depth research and gathering valuable intel on your target accounts. What are their pain points? What content are they engaging with? What are their goals and objectives? It's like putting together a puzzle, one piece of information at a time.
Okay, so once we have these dossiers, how do we actually use them to personalize our content?
Well, think about it this way. You wouldn't send the same love letter to your grandma as you would to your significant other.
Right, definitely not. Grandma wouldn't appreciate the sonnet about my undying love.
Exactly. The same principle applies to ABM. You need to tailor your message to resonate with the specific interests and motivations of each individual within the account.
So if we're targeting the CFO, we might focus on content that highlights ROI and cost savings. But for a marketing manager, we might lean more towards content about brand building and lead generation.
Now you're getting it. It's all about understanding the language that each decision maker speaks and crafting your content accordingly.
I'm starting to see how powerful this can be. But let's be real. Not every company has a team of researchers dedicated to building these dossiers. Are there any shortcuts or tools that can help us get started?
Absolutely. There are some amazing technology platforms out there that can automate a lot of the heavy lifting. But even if you're working with a limited budget, you can still glean valuable insights from readily available resources.
Like what? Spill the tea.
Simple things like analyzing LinkedIn demographics or checking out industry reports can give you a good baseline understanding of your target accounts. It's about being resourceful and creative.
So it's less about having the fanciest tools and more about having the right mindset.
You nailed it. It's about being curious, analytical, and always looking for ways to personalize your approach.
All right, I'm feeling pumped. But before we get too carried away, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Isn't ABM super expensive and time-consuming? I mean, we're talking about personalized campaigns for potentially dozens, if not hundreds of accounts.
That's a common misconception. ABM doesn't have to break the bank. In fact, when done right, it can actually be more cost-effective than traditional marketing approaches.
How so?
Think about it. Instead of spreading your resources thin across a massive audience, right? You're focusing your efforts on a select group of high-value accounts. This laser-focused approach means you're wasting less money on unqualified leads and getting more bang for your buck.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the time commitment? Surely it takes a lot of effort to create all of this personalized content and manage these complex campaigns.
It's true that ABM requires a certain level of investment, but there are ways to streamline your processes and maximize your efficiency. For example, you can repurpose existing content and create templates to speed up the creation process.
So we can work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And remember, the initial investment in ABM pays off in the long run. By building stronger relationships with your most valuable accounts, you're setting yourself up for increased revenue, lower customer churn, and a whole lot of happy customers.
All right, I'm sold. But let's be honest, not every ABM campaign is a slam dunk. What are some of the challenges that companies might face when implementing this approach?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is getting your sales and marketing teams on the same page. It's not enough to just tell them to collaborate. You need to create a culture of shared goals and open communication.
So it's about breaking down those silos and fostering a true sense of partnership.
Absolutely. Another challenge is data quality and integration. ABM relies heavily on having accurate, up-to-date information about your target accounts. If your data is a mess, your campaigns are going to suffer.
So garbage in, garbage out. Right.
Exactly. You need to make sure that your data is clean, organized, and accessible to both your sales and marketing teams.
Okay, so data quality is crucial.
Hmm.
What else should we be aware of?
Another potential pitfall is failing to clearly define your target accounts. It's tempting to want to go after everyone, but that's a recipe for disaster. You need to be laser-focused on the accounts that are most likely to convert and generate the highest ROI.
So it's all about quality over quantity.
Precisely. And finally, don't underestimate the importance of ongoing measurement and optimization. ABM is not a set-it-and-forget-it approach. You need to constantly track your results, analyze your data, and adjust your campaigns accordingly.
So it's a continuous improvement process, always learning, always iterating.
That's the spirit.
This is all great stuff. But sometimes it helps to see things in action. What are some real-world examples of ABM done right? I bet you have some juicy stories to share.
Oh, I definitely do. But you know what? That's a perfect place to pick up in our next segment. We'll dive into some inspiring case studies that will show you just how impactful ABM can be when it's firing on all cylinders.
Sounds good to me. Now, before we take a break, let me just remind everyone that you can find a ton of resources on ABM on our blog. Over at blog.aspiration.marketing, we've got articles, guides, templates, and even a few quizzes to test your knowledge.
It's a treasure trove of ABM goodness.
So head over to blog.aspiration.marketing and start exploring. We'll be back in a flash with those real-world examples I promised.
All right, let's jump right back in and explore some real-world ABM examples that really showcase the power of this approach. Remember how we discussed the importance of understanding each decision-maker's unique needs? Well, one company really took that to heart, and they created personalized videos for each member of their target account's buying committees.
Wait, hold up. Personalized videos for each person. That sounds incredibly time-consuming. How did they manage that without a massive team of video editors?
That's the beauty of it. They cleverly used a combination of pre-recorded footage and dynamic elements that could be customized based on each individual's role, their interests, and even their stage in the buyer's journey.
So it's like those personalized children's books, where you can add the kid's name and picture. Except instead of a talking dragon, it's a tailored message about your product or service.
You got it. And the results were astounding. These personalized videos had sky-high engagement rates compared to generic email blasts. Decision makers felt seen, heard, and valued, which made them more receptive to the company's message.
That's incredible. It really drives home the point that personalization isn't just a nice-to-have. It's a game changer. It's about making that human connection and showing your target accounts that you understand their needs on a deeper level.
Exactly. And that's what sets ABM apart from traditional marketing. It's about building those meaningful relationships that lead to long-term growth and mutual success.
Okay, I'm convinced about the power of personalization, but I'm curious about the different flavors of ABM. We briefly touched on strategic ABM Lite and programmatic ABM. Could you break those down a bit further?
Absolutely. Think of it as a spectrum of personalization and scale. On one end, we have strategic ABM, which is like the bespoke tailor of the ABM world. It's highly personalized, laser-focused, and all about building deep one-to-one relationships with a select group of high-value accounts.
So it's the VIP treatment, red carpet rolled out, full court press for those top-tier clients.
Exactly. You're pulling out all the stops, creating custom content, hosting exclusive events, and nurturing those relationships with the utmost care and attention.
Sounds impressive. But also resource-intensive. What about those of us who might not have the bandwidth for such a high-touch approach?
That's where ABM Lite comes in. Think of it as the ready-to-wear option. It's still personalized, but it's more scalable, allowing you to target a larger group of accounts with slightly less tailored campaigns.
So instead of hand-stitching every garment, we're working with some pre-made patterns, but still adding those custom touches where it matters most.
That's a great analogy. ABM Lite is a great option for companies that are just dipping their toes into the ABM waters or have limited resources.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about programmatic ABM? Where does that fit into the picture?
Programmatic ABM is the tech-savvy member of the ABM family. It leverages automation and data to streamline your ABM efforts and reach a wider audience while maintaining a level of personalization.
So it's like ABM meets the efficiency of marketing automation platforms.
Precisely. It's about using data and insights to target the right accounts with the right message at the right time, all while maximizing your efficiency.
That sounds incredibly powerful. But with all this talk of automation and data, I can't help but wonder about the human element. Are we at risk of losing that personal touch that makes ABM so effective?
That's a great question. And the answer is it depends on how you approach it. Programmatic ABM shouldn't replace human interaction entirely. It's more about augmenting your efforts and freeing up your time to focus on those high-touch interactions that really matter.
So it's like having a personal assistant who handles the logistics and scheduling, allowing you to focus on building those genuine relationships.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between automation and personalization.
This is all incredibly insightful. But I have to ask, how do we actually measure the success of our ABM campaigns? It's not as straightforward as tracking website traffic or lead generation, right?
You're absolutely right. ABM requires a different set of metrics that align with its unique focus on accounts and relationships. We're not just looking at vanity metrics here. We want to see how our efforts translate into tangible business outcomes.
So instead of counting page views, we're looking at things like pipeline generated, deal size, and customer lifetime value.
Exactly. Those are all important indicators of ABM success. But don't forget about the softer metrics, too. Things like brand awareness, customer satisfaction, and advocacy.
Right, because ABM is about building those long-term sustainable relationships that go beyond a single transaction.
Precisely. It's about creating raving fans who will sing your praises and become loyal advocates for your brand.
I love that. But I imagine it's not always smooth sailing. What are some common pitfalls that companies should watch out for when implementing ABM?
One of the biggest mistakes is jumping into ABM. Without a clear understanding of your target accounts, you need to do your homework and identify the accounts that are most likely to convert and generate the highest ROI.
So it's back to that quality over quantity principle.
Exactly. Another common mistake is failing to align your sales and marketing teams. ABM requires a collaborative approach, and if your teams are working in silos, your efforts will suffer.
I can see how that could be a challenge. Breaking down those traditional barriers between sales and marketing can be tough.
It's definitely a cultural shift, but it's essential for ABM success. You need to create a shared understanding of your target accounts, goals, and strategies.
And of course, we can't forget about data. If your data is inaccurate or incomplete, your ABM campaigns will be built on a shaky foundation.
Absolutely. Data quality is paramount. You need to ensure that your data is clean, organized, and accessible to both your sales and marketing teams.
Okay, so we've covered the good, the great, and the potentially problematic. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about resources. For those listening who are eager to explore ABM further, where can they find more information and guidance?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Remember that treasure trove of ABM goodness we mentioned earlier?
You mean our blog at blog.aspiration.marketing?
Precisely. We've got a wealth of resources on ABM, from beginner-friendly guides to in-depth case studies, and even downloadable templates to help you get started.
So we've talked about the power of personalization, the different flavors of ABM, and even the potential pitfalls to watch out for. But I want to leave our listeners with some practical advice, some actionable takeaways that they can implement right away.
Excellent point. Let's distill all this knowledge into something tangible. First and foremost, I would say start with your why. Why are you pursuing ABM? What are your specific goals? Are you looking to increase revenue, shorten sales cycles, or perhaps enhance customer retention? Having a clear understanding of your objectives will guide your strategy and help you stay focused.
Just like setting a destination before embarking on a road trip. Without that clear direction, you'll just end up driving in circles.
Precisely. Once you know your why, you can start identifying your ideal target accounts. Remember, quality over quantity. Focus on the accounts that align with your ideal customer profile and have the highest potential for growth and long-term value.
So it's not about chasing every shiny object that crosses our path. It's about being discerning and strategic in our pursuit.
Exactly. And once you've identified your target accounts, it's time to roll up your sleeves and start building those dossiers we talked about earlier. Gather as much information as you can about their business, their pain points, their goals, and their key decision makers.
It's like becoming a detective, right? Piecing together clues to understand their motivations and desires.
You got it. And with those insights in hand, you can start crafting personalized campaigns that resonate with their specific needs and challenges. Remember, it's not about blasting them with generic marketing messages. It's about delivering value and building genuine relationships.
So it's less about being a bullhorn and more about being a trusted advisor.
You nailed it. And as you start implementing your ABM campaigns, don't forget to track your results and make adjustments along the way. ABM is a continuous improvement process. It's about learning from your experiences and refining your approach over time.
So we need to be data-driven, analytical, but also flexible and adaptable.
Precisely. And never underestimate the power of collaboration. Break down those silos between your sales and marketing teams and foster a culture of shared goals and open communication.
Because at the end of the day, ABMs is a team sport.
Exactly. It's about bringing together the best of both worlds, the strategic thinking of marketing and the relationship-building skills of sales to create a powerful force that drives business growth.
This has been an incredible journey into the world of ABM. I feel like we've covered so much ground, from the core principles to real-world examples and practical tips.
I agree. It's been a pleasure diving deep with you and our listeners.
But before we sign off, I want to remind everyone that this is just the beginning. There's a whole universe of ABM knowledge out there waiting to be explored. And for those who are eager to dive even deeper, I highly recommend checking out the resources on our blog at blog.aspiration.marketing.
You'll find articles, guides, templates, and even quiz or two to test your ABM prowess.
And if you're ready to take your ABM strategy to the next level, don't hesitate to reach out to Aspiration Marketing. Our team of experts can help you craft a customized plan and guide you every step of the way.
We're passionate about helping businesses like yours achieve ABM success.
So thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of ABM. Until next time, happy marketing.